10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Masks, the topic of discussion across Yellowstone County as students and teachers head back to school. In Laurel tonight, school board trustees voted to keep masks optional and implemented a policy that seeks to dispel any bullying against students because of whether they're masked or not. The meeting room was packed at the Laurel Administration Building tonight. Laurel students went back to school last Wednesday. In a letter sent home to parents, Superintendent Linda Filppula said masking is encouraged but not required in the Laurel schools. Laurel trustees voted 5-1 to revise the district's health policy. It now requires an investigation into mask-related bullying complaints to determine if further disciplinary action is necessary. Members of the public and trustees voiced their opinions ahead of that vote.
The students may spread it to the teacher or fellow students who may take it home to their spouse, children, parents, or grandparents. People may exercise this personal choice outside of the public school system, but I feel we need to reconsider the decision to keep everyone safe within the walls of our schools.
My oldest son is a senior. He told me he will absolutely not go back to school if he has to wear a mask. He has asthma. He is barely breathing because of all of the smoke. He uses his inhaler at least 4 times a day, and he has told me he will not go back to school if he has to. I think you need to weigh both sides of this because, yes, we may be, and I stress maybe, preventing COVID, but I can guarantee you are endangering my students' health by wearing a mask.
But I don't want other people to be harassed because of that. Given mask wear, great, wear your mask. I appreciate that because that's your choice. If you don't wear a mask, then don't wear a mask. I appreciate that choice. I think this also helps with our teachers, our admin, and our students.
Laurel School District staff encouraged parents to keep their kids home if they're sick and practice good hand hygiene with their kids regularly. Here in Billings, the newly implemented mask mandate overshadowed a normally joyous first day of school. Billings School Superintendent Greg Upham changed course over the weekend, requiring masks to be worn after citing an outbreak on the Skyview High School varsity football team. That order has caused some tension between parents and schools. Q2's Mitch Legge spoke with Upham and has a look at the first day of school at Will James Middle School.
On Monday, Billings Public School staff and students went back for a brand new year of school, with a mask requirement implemented across the school district. In the afternoon, Superintendent Greg Upham pleaded for the community's cooperation as both parents and teachers work through the coronavirus pandemic together.
We'll just continue to work through this as a community. You know, I surely can understand the frustrations that everyone has with this, and the best thing to do is just to continue to communicate. I mean, those are real feelings on both sides, and we made the decision based on student health, and we'll continue to move forward. 2
days before the start of school, Upham reversed course, requiring masks in schools after a 5-case outbreak on the Skyview High School varsity football team last week. Upham said school staff will keep up with increased sanitation measures and do everything possible to keep kids in school this year. But not all parents are happy with their students being required to wear masks. Here's video on Monday from a parent at Boulder Elementary.
And we understand that these children right here are not truant. They are here and they're being denied public service through education in the state of Montana at Boulder Elementary.
Upham said he was aware of the video and told his staff to make it clear that students have the option for virtual learning. Parents will have to contact their school principal to make arrangements.
Yeah, that's what we shared with our principals, is to share with the families that, you know, there's a masking requirement in place, and we require if you're going to come into the buildings to have a mask. If you're not, then you're going to have to remain outside. And that was the message, a very simple message, not confrontational, just that we do have a masking requirement. We ask you to stay outside, and if you want to come in, you can wear a mask.
At Will James Middle School, it was the first day back for 6th graders, new students to the school, and students who were remote last year but are coming back to the classroom this year. Principal Becky Carlson was the remote learning administrator for the district last year. On the first day, she said things went well with masks in middle school.
You know, we provided at lunchtime having kids, you know, they don't have to have their masks on when they eat, and when they're outside, they don't need to have them on. So just giving those opportunities to take breaks when needed, and the teachers have been good about trying to support that too in their classrooms. So yeah, it just seemed it was routine last year, and they picked right up with the routine again this year.
For the entirety of last school year, Billings staff and students were required to wear masks. Upham said he will continue to keep tabs on the COVID situation in schools and continue to communicate with local health officials before making any changes to the mask requirement. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Thank you, Mitch. Carlson added that if students don't wear a mask, one will be provided to them, and if they still don't want to wear it, calls will be made to parents to have their children picked up from school. Well, there's much to talk about when it comes to COVID vaccines and mask mandates. There was also a lot of excitement as kids begin a new chapter and a new school year. Q2's Andrea Lutz has more on that.
It's the first day of school in School District 2, and here at McKinley Elementary, it is a day full of excitement. And there are some changes this year, you know, that mask policy. But all in all, we're seeing kids that are excited to embark on a new adventure, and sometimes some parents that have a hard time saying goodbye.
Yeah, I've been anticipating and dreading this.
As parents cling to their little ones for one last hug.
When we have to say goodbye, I have a feeling there'll be a few tears.
And some tears are even shed. This year, the first day of school is different. This year, it's a chance to start again.
Yeah, it's been a great summer. We really maximized it, had a good time, and the kids are ready. It's been last year was kind of hit and miss, and now the kids are really excited for a full year and getting back to it.
Excited for school! The Eaton family has 2 boys enrolled this year. Mom Kara captures those final moments before they go.
West has been here before. He's going into 1st grade, and this is Porter's 1st year in kindergarten. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for many kids, there are nerves.
A little nervous. That's okay to be nervous. I know you're going to have a great time.
Nerves from parents, too.
I'm excited to be at McKinley, and our teacher seems awesome, but I'm still kind of panicking, like sending her away for the whole day.
Emily Ronrell's daughter, Rosie, is heading to kindergarten this year.
Lots of talking with my husband, and I think just trying to stay positive and have faith that she's going to have an amazing time and an amazing experience and make lots of great friends.
This year, she's got high hopes for her girl.
Ooh, have so much fun.
Hey, I love you, buddy. I love you so much.
With one last goodbye.
Have fun. There goes your class.
And a salute to parents.
Okay.
This kindergarten class is taking their first steps.
Aww. I'm gonna miss her.
I know you are.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Thanks, Andrea. Earlier today, local leaders in the healthcare community, the Billings Clinic, St. Vincent, Riverstone Health, and St. John's United all came out in support of the decision by Billings Public Schools to require masking. Health officials say the masking will help prevent the spread of the Delta variant that's responsible for the climbing case count. Well, as students file back into the classroom today, the state crossed a positive threshold on the vaccine front as 50% of Montanans are now fully vaccinated. Missoula County leads the way with 62% of its population vaccinated, while Yellowstone County remains just under 50% at 48% right now. Powder River County and Macomb County have the lowest vaccination rates in the state at 25%. Well, here in Yellowstone County, Riverstone Health is offering 3 walk-in vaccination clinics over the next 2 weeks. The first will be held this Thursday, August 25th at South Park. That'll run from 4:30 until 6:30 in the evening. A full list of the free clinics can be found on our website, ktvq.com. And despite the vaccine news, the COVID-19 numbers continue to skyrocket across the state, with 652 new cases reported today, and Yellowstone County seeing 3 new deaths. The 3 new deaths, all in residents over the age of 60, all with underlying health conditions. 2 of the patients were unvaccinated. And now the Billings hospitals are at their greatest capacity of COVID-19 patients since December of last year, with 81 people currently in the hospital tonight. 19 of those patients are in the ICU, with 12 on ventilators. Statewide, there are currently 220 people hospitalized with COVID-19, and Montana's death toll now approaching 1,800 since the pandemic began. On the wildfire front, firefighters were greatly helped by last week's rain and cooler weather. Currently, there are 52 active burning fires throughout the state, with only 2 coming in the last 24 hours. The state's largest wildfire, the Richard Spring Fire between Colstrip and Lame Deer, now 100% contained. It did burn more than 171,000 acres, though. The Lame Deer Fire, which caused the evacuation of the entire town at one point, also 100% contained tonight. The Robertson Draw Fire near Red Lodge, which was the first major wildfire to break out this year, is 90% contained. Overall, the state has seen more than 2,000 fire starts since the beginning of the year. Now turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. Ed, we've seen a big turnaround with the weather this month. How are things shaping up for August?
You know, it's interesting to compare it. When you take a look at July, we only had one day where we had temperatures below average. But here's the graph of August so far, where we started off with those really warm temperatures, made it all the way up to 100 degrees. A couple of days later, we were setting records for cold weather. So far, you average it all out, we're running about a half degree below average for this time of the year. On track as far as the whole summer goes, June, July, and August, we're in the #1 position as the hottest summer on record. That's starting to slip a little bit with these cooler temperatures. We're about a half degree warmer right now than 1988, 61, and 1936 that all tied at 74.7 degrees for an average during the summer. We'll let you know if those averages will continue to slip in a few minutes.
Well, a family's finally getting closure after the body of a hiker missing for weeks in the Beartooths was found over the weekend. Q2's Brandon Warren has more tonight.
In early July, 23-year-old Tatum Morel went missing near Red Lodge while on a solo hike. Despite their best efforts, search teams were unable to locate her. Search efforts were eventually scaled back, but now her body has been found. 2 climbers were headed up Whitetail Couloir when they noticed a few stray pieces of hiking equipment. And because they knew about the situation, the climbers decided to look around more.
They thought they should look around a little bit more, and they looked upslope, and that's when they saw her boot, and that was the only thing that was exposed from under the pile from the rock slide.
The hikers then used satellite devices to contact Red Lodge Fire Rescue, who was then able to use helicopters from local agencies to get to the remote area where Morel was found and recover her body from under a rock slide.
Finding her, especially buried in that rock slide, answered a lot of questions as to why our ground crews couldn't find her, and why helicopters couldn't find her, and even why search dogs couldn't find her. So that helped us a lot with putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Morel's family, as well as Red Lodge Fire Rescue and the Carbon County Sheriff's Office, wants to thank everyone involved. In Billings, Brandon Warren, MTN News.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, between low stream flows and hot temperatures, this year's been difficult on already struggling fisheries. MTN's John Riley breaks down new steps being taken to help brown trout populations in Montana.
Last week, Montana's Fish and Wildlife Commission took significant steps to help brown trout populations in southwest Montana. Due to declining fish populations, the commission implemented catch and release only on the Big Hole and Beaverhead rivers, and only artificial flies and lures may be used. Harvesting brown trout using bait or treble hooks is prohibited. FWP initially proposed just closing spawning areas early, but based on public comments, the commission believed more needed to be done to ensure the fisheries have the best shot at recovering.
I'm not disrespecting in any way the department's biological assessment of this, but I would think if we're taking action to close spawning areas for months on these rivers, we should advocate or propose catch and release fishing along with that.
Many Montana fisheries have suffered this year due to low stream flows and warm temperatures, with hoot owl restrictions currently implemented on 17 rivers and creeks. FWP says a year like 2021 creates conditions where it's very hard for juvenile fish to locate a habitat and survive. Brown trout are particularly impacted by low flows because, unlike rainbow and cutthroat, browns spawn in the fall. FWP says especially for browns in the Big Hole and Beaverhead, they want as many fish as possible to have a chance to spawn, but believe just closing down spawning season would be enough, as anglers tend to not keep juvenile fish.
Recruitment has been down in these rivers. We've got low numbers of age 1s and age 2s. Our expectation is this year's recruitment will be very poor, just given the flow conditions. And so that's going to take a 3-year lag before we see those fish start to become adults, of course, and spawn.
In addition to catch and release on the two rivers, sections of the Beaverhead and Big Hole will be fully closed to fishing from November 1st through the third Saturday in May. Reporting for MTN News, John Riley.
Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, a decision from the Food and Drug Administration could lead to more shots in the arms for Americans. That story coming up next.